I'm J.R. Church. Welcome to today's analysis of the news. We have a special guest on today's program, Steve Russell. And he was a key character figure in the hunt and the capture of Saddam Hussein with the army in Iraq. And now he is a senator, a state senator, recently elected to that position here in the state of Oklahoma. Steve, it's good to have you with us today.
Thank you, JR. Thanks for having me.
And he went back to Iraq just a few weeks ago. He just returned home recently. And I have a feeling that Iraq is a little different than you saw it when you were in the Army.
Well, it is different. I had the privilege to go as a part of an organization that I'm a part of called Vets for Freedom. And we were accompanied with Brian Bennett from Time Magazine, who covered my return back to Iraq. We got to go to Tikrit, which is where much of the hunt for Saddam had occurred. And got to spend some time with units in Baghdad in the West Rashid district, several different units. It is striking how much things have improved.
Yes. What's the difference today than it was when you were
Well,
there?
For one is how I got to Baghdad. I went by commercial airline, a DC-9, from the Kuwait International Airport. We flew in, went on my passport. As a retired soldier now, I went as a civilian, armed with a pen and a tape recorder and a camera, much different than the last time that I went there. But amazing how much that Iraq has taken over its security, every aspect, from the police to the military. The markets are flourishing. It is truly striking to see how much confidence and how much hope that the Iraqi people have now in their own government.
It gives us an idea of the potential of Iraq to be a self-sustaining country.
Well, unlike a lot of countries that we often associate with barren parts of the world, Iraq is unique because of the rich and fertile Tigris and Euphrates river valleys. When I was there serving as a soldier, it was not uncommon to you could pick lush fruits off of the orchards of pomegranates, dates, bananas, oranges, lemons, apples, you name it. They grew a lot of wheat, which they feed their livestock on, mostly goats and sheep, which they eat. They not only produce a lot of food, but they produce more than they consume. So many people don't realize that Iraq is a food exporting country. Add that to their great mineral and oil wealth, and they are a surplus producing country that has great potential to be a very wealthy and a very self-sufficient and capable country.
And what about the idea that Barack Obama wanted to bring the troops home in 16 months? How do you feel about that, and why is he retaining Mr. Gates?
Well, I think we should all be encouraged by the fact that Secretary Gates is being retained. And what that shows you is that the military and the Department of Defense all along has had a good vision for success in Iraq, certainly since the surge strategy was begun. And what we see there is that by retaining this team, that this plan is continuing to be successful and executed regardless of which administration is in power. If we saw a big changing of the guard and the defense, I think that we would, I know many of the veterans and the people that I represent, we would be very concerned because the military wants to succeed. No one wants to go home more than the soldier who is serving there. Well on that path. Iraq has 13 of its 18 provinces now under its own control with no coalition presence of soldiers. Of the remaining 5 that do have coalition soldiers, what I saw in Baghdad, the majority of people on security duty are Iraq police and military, vast majority.
So when Mr. Obama had his briefing by the Secret Service and classified information, you feel like that he sort of moved from the far left to the center in regard to Iraq?
I hope that he will listen to the commanders on the ground. I had the privilege to sit down with General Odierno on my recent trip to Iraq. I got to meet with General Abadi, who is the vice deputy commander of the Iraqi army, a wonderful man. These people have a great vision to complete the mission and finish the job. Short of an interfering political movement, we're going to see this mission won, and we'll see it done in a responsible way. If we see politics play into that, we have to remember that Iraq is not an enemy of ours. Iraq is an ally that we're trying to aid and make stronger so that they can secure their own nation, and then we will have a cooperative type of arrangement with them, which we've recently seen passed with this Status of Forces Agreement, just agreed to this month.
So Iraq is a potentially wealthy country, and its people and its politicians are beginning to move into line with producing more wealth for their people, their infrastructure. What about the $70 million or $70 billion that Barack Obama said that they should be forking over to the United States to take care of some of this?
You did
expense.
hear some of that mention on the campaign trail, and that was certainly needed close scrutiny from the American public. The truth of the matter is that much of the reconstruction effort now is being funded by the Iraqi economy. They did have a surplus last year, and what the American public doesn't often hear is what happened to that surplus. They're pouring it back into the economy. I went out into markets which 6 months ago I would have been shot. Instead, I was giving phone interviews on a cell phone, standing for hours out in there, going from shop to shop with vendors. I went by civilian car, 160 miles one way from Baghdad to Tikrit, saw 2 U.S. troop patrols in that entire 160 miles. The rest was all patrolled by Iraqi forces, and they're doing a fine job doing so. I actually felt safer going by civilian car, actually, than I would have in a military convoy, simply because I was among the population. The Iraqis have great confidence in their future, and the street battles have now migrated to political battles. You'll see campaign posters up. You'll hear heated arguments over policy of cooperation with the Status of Forces Agreement, different things. And I'm very encouraged by what I saw.
Yeah, so one more question about the Al-Qaeda in Iraq. What's happened to Al-Qaeda?
Well, Al-Qaeda is still a force to be reckoned with, but we have to take courage that bin Laden has not been leading the effort. He has his deputies doing so, and we've killed quite a number of number twos. I think they're way down on the B team roster of number twos right now, simply because of coalition forces taking them out. Is he still alive? I believe our government when they say that he is, but he's not an inspiring figure that's having a great influence. The last bastions of Al-Qaeda in Iraq exist in the Mosul area, and the Iraqis hate Al-Qaeda simply because of how they've treated their children and the population, the wanton bombing of civilians. This is what turned the Iraqi people completely against the effort, and why we see so much success there now. Is bin Laden a threat? Sure. But is he less relevant because he's lying low? Absolutely. If he becomes more active, like Saddam, like Zarqawi, like others, the more active he is, we'll track him down and we'll get him.
Thanks for being with us today.
Well, thank you. It's a real pleasure.
And I hope you've enjoyed it. I have, to find out that Iraq is well on its way to being a viable political entity in the world, Western allies. Afghanistan might be another story. India and Pakistan might be another story, but as of this point, it looks like things are going very well in Iraq. I'm J.R. Church. See you again tomorrow with our analysis of the news.